August is already making a pretty strong first impression. New releases are rolling in fast, and amongst them are a handful of games that genuinely deserve a place on your phone. Hello friends, welcome back, this is MOBA. Today we're going to be checking out 20 more new mobile games for Android and iOS that you can actually play. Alright, first of all, we're just gonna give this one a quick honorable mention for those of you who missed it. Probably what might end up being one of the biggest mobile releases in history. Palworld is finally officially making the jump to Android and iOS, and it's rumored to be coming out by the end of August. And if the developers can finally deliver on what they're promising, this could be special. The original actually exploded because it makes survival, creature collecting, crafting, base building, and the multiplayer all into one ridiculously addictive package. And the mobile version looks like it's trying to preserve exactly that instead of watering anything down. There's plenty we don't know right now, but this is easily one of the most exciting mobile releases on the horizon. Definitely want to keep on your radar, it's coming to Android and iOS. On another hand, at number 2, if you missed it, well, the wait for Caravan SandWitch is finally over. The game was dropped earlier this morning on Android and iOS, and with just probably one first and final note to add, which is play the game with a controller. Otherwise, you're gonna be missing out on basically the whole adventure. The touchscreen needs a lot of work. If you're a bit on the hesitant side with the game, in Caravan SandWitch, there is no combat. There's no timers, there's no pressure to survive or anything. It's just you, a little van, and a beautiful science fiction world and the mystery of a missing sister that really pulls you toward the story. It has a cozy road trip feeling where every stop, every character, every abandoned place you visit makes you want to keep driving until a little further. It's an offline game, it takes you $7. Car Street has always been one of those games that's got the driving part spectacularly right. And if you dropped it before, playing it for a while, now was honestly the perfect time to come back. Developers didn't just move on, they've been rebuilding the game with major updates, improving the physics, graphics, optimization, weatherifics, and adding new modes to make the whole experience feel fresher. This is easily one of the most satisfying driving experiences you can actually have on mobile today, and it really is the kind of game that just wants you to learn your machine and earn every run you win. It's pretty simple, really polished, free all the way, solid 10 out of 10. Drone Strike actually came out to Android a few days ago, and it is ridiculously good. Start to finish actually. You're looking at the battlefields from 1,000 feet away, lighting up the targets, deciding who goes first, and watching the absolute mayhem unfolding a second later after your command. This is less about running and gunning and more about controlling the entire fight from above. If military shooters are your thing and you've ever wanted to play the support aircraft instead of the soldier, this one's definitely worth at least checking out. Rogue Streets came our way earlier this morning, and it instantly brought back the old school beat 'em up feeling I didn't even realize I missed lately. It's a kind of game where you walk into this room, get surrounded by 10 different dudes, somehow come out standing with a broken pipe in one hand and half of the furniture sitting on the floor. The combat's mighty fine, it's mostly improvising. It is, however, definitely inspired by Streets of Rage in all over ingredients, and it doesn't try to pretend to be anything bigger than that, but that's basically why it works. It's a free game, plays offline, it's Android only for now. So I never thought I would say this, or at least I can remember that, but slap fighting actually makes for a pretty fun mobile game. This thing, Iron League, is quite addictive just because it's less about smacking your opponents, more about timing your hits, reading theirs, and landing that perfect slap just at the right moment. It's got pretty quick matches, the progression keeps giving you something to chase. It's one of those games that's just dumb enough to be entertaining without feeling like a joke. There's one problem, it's an online game. Formula in Traffic at number 7 is one of those races you will end up with the old one last run loop, then you're gonna be realizing about an hour in you're too deep to go back. We're flying past regular traffic in what's basically a formula car doesn't get old because, every close call you make feels like you've got away with something that's actually rewarding. It's a pretty fast game, pretty tense. When you finally get through a gap, it's amazing. I don't know, if you're bored of the usual races and want something that actually feels fresh, this little indie game is a pretty easy recommendation in my opinion. Going down to number 8, we've got this thing here called Silent War, and it's an online game first of all. If you're one of those people that's still hunting for a solid first-person shooter to play with friends that ain't trying to copy Call of Duty every 5 seconds, this might be at least worth a look. You've got different soldier classes to choose from, custom loadouts, rank progress, and even private lobbies if you want to mess around with friends. It's pretty early though, so don't expect the biggest shooter on mobile right now, but the first impressions are actually pretty decent. If the developers keep supporting it with updates, this could actually, quietly build up a loyal community over time, and personally give it a solid 8 out of 10. Number 9, we've got Astro Arena. Astro Arena has actually been out for no more than a good couple of weeks and already owned nearly 5 million players. It's a kind of MOBA that actually respects your time basically. Instead of like asking for half an hour every match, it's a 3v3 or seconds even matter. Like, imagine Dota but like a match 3 sort of game. Like, you barely have time to breathe before fighting over objectives, pulling off a clutch play, or just queuing for another round. The heroes are pretty easy to understand but different enough that you'll naturally start finding favorites, and once you do, the game, gets surprisingly competitive too. It's pretty quick, clean, very addictive game in nature. At number 10, we've got Highway Rush. I swear to you, this game has that dangerous just one more run course like probably no other mobile game. It doesn't waste your time with a story, cutscene, or 50 different menus or whatever. You tap play, suddenly you're weaving through traffic like brakes were basically removed at the factory. The fun in this game isn't even about winning, it's surviving your own bad decisions. Every close call feels like you've got away with something you absolutely shouldn't have, and the first person view actually makes it a legit old school arcade racing feel done perfectly. Clockmech Oasis at number 11 here, I would argue is one of those indie games that became a pretty big the moment it landed on mobile. It already was a pretty big hit on PC. So Clockmech Oasis is actually mixing roguelike shooting with tower defense in a way that sounds strange on paper but works ridiculously well once you get going, You're constantly running around fighting enemies while building turrets, gathering resources, and trying to keep your base alive. So there's like barely a dull moment here. And before you even know it, you've spent an hour saying just one more. If you enjoy games like Vampire Survivors or strategy roguelikes with a lot more player involvement, this one's definitely worth trying. If you've been playing Order of Kings, I'm pretty sure some of you at least know about this game. Here's an honorable mention and the biggest update yet, Season 3. In case you missed it, developers are changing how battles now play out, weather can now completely mess with your plans, terrain matters more than ever, and a bunch of new elite troops are here to give each faction a lot more personality. It's pretty nice seeing the developers expand the strategy instead of just adding more content, and honestly the game keeps looking more like a proper mobile Total War game with every different update it gets. It's a solid game, is free, about 3 GB in total. Give it a shot. Boxing Fighter here at number 13 isn't trying to be like the next undisputed or real boxing, and I think that's basically why it works. So it's the kind of game you open for like a couple of minutes, throw a few punches, unlock something new, then you without even knowing, you end up staying a lot longer than you planned. It's a pretty quick game, the progression keeps you hooked, watching your little boxer become a champion makes it pretty deep with a long journey. If you're looking for a light boxing game that doesn't also take itself too seriously, this one's a pretty easy recommendation. Spin Rhythm XD has been one of the highest rated rhythm games on PC for years, which hopefully some of you know about it, and it's finally made its way to Android yesterday. And the reason this was such a highly rated game before is instead of just tapping notes, you're spinning, flicking, sliding all your way through. It's definitely got that one more song problem where you keep replaying tracks just to beat your own score. The soundtrack's absolutely stacked, the presentation is fantastic, and the gameplay has a pretty good flow that's genuinely different from almost every other rhythm game on mobile. Hopefully developers will make it land on the Apple Store as well. Sitting in on the Play Store with over 100,000 downloads in just a day, number 15 we've got Hold.io. One of the most satisfying little arcade games on mobile. There's something just therapeutic almost about starting at this tiny little hole that can barely eat a bench, then a few minutes later you're casually just eating entire buildings, skyscrapers. Pretty simple game, mayhem never really gets old, chaotic for sure never really gets old. Sometimes actually the best mobile games don't need lots of complicated mechanics, they just need a fun idea that's executed better than the rest. Don't Starve Together finally made the jump to mobile, and it is easily one of the best survival releases we've had in a long time. And if you've never played it before, you're gonna be in for one of the most rewarding co-op survival games pretty much ever made on mobile, and this version actually includes a full multiplayer experience, a controller support, cloud saves, and a surprisingly smooth touch interface as well. At $8.99 with a launch discount, that's a pretty easy recommendation and still probably the best survival game you can ever play. So number 17 we've got The Nurse, which is, it's just like one of those old school horror indie games that sort of knows less is more. Like you're not running around with weapons or fighting back, whatever. The whole experience is about staying quiet, listening, hoping whatever's chasing you doesn't turn the corner first. It builds tension really well, especially once you start learning the hospital's layout and realize nowhere really feels safe. And I don't know, if you enjoy slower horror games where atmosphere does most of the heavy work, this one's definitely worth a check. Number 18, we've got Crash Cat Zombie Survivor, which don't try to reinvent the survivor genre, it just throws you behind this wheel and lets the chaos do the talking. Half the fun actually comes from weaving through zombie hordes, watching them fly across the road as your truck gets bigger and bigger, more ridiculous with every single run. It's easy to pick up, but surprisingly satisfying to stick with. If you've been looking for a more action-packed take on the usual survival formula, it's also a pretty easy free recommendation. Mindball, on the other hand, it actually feels like the old school mobile game that wouldn't have been a hit years ago, but now it totally does. That's a part of the charm actually. It's about rolling, jumping, dodging traps, making it through surprisingly creative obstacle courses without overcomplicating nothing. The physics are pretty simple, levels keep bringing new ideas, and the boss fights are pretty neat. If you're looking for a light offline game that doesn't waste your time and is just fun, that's pretty good. Number 20. If you're into idle RPGs, Ruler of the Land, Fire Dragon has more going for it than most. So first of all, it's actually based on one of Korea's longest running martial arts series, so the world and the character already have like decades of history behind them, instead of just feeling made up on the spot. The progress is exactly what you'd expect. You log in, collect rewards, get stronger, but also the combat, the guild battles, and the classic Wuha atmosphere gives it like a lot more personality than your average AFK. Pretty good game, is free, it's available only on Android for now. And finally at number 21, we've got over here Night Pause, which reminds me of the kind of stealth game we barely even get on mobile anymore, where there's no fighting your way through mistakes. If you rush in, you're cut. The fun comes from watching patterns, waiting for the perfect moment and slipping here and there. Every successful heist feels super rewarding. Pulling one off without triggering an alarm is legit satisfying. If you're into old school stealth games that reward patience, this little indie game over here is an absolute gem. Anyway, thanks for watching, I really hope you enjoyed, I'll see you again tomorrow.